Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Welcome to the Ango show. It is March 20th, 2025.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Welcome to the Ango show.
There probably is an echo. March 20th, 2025. Okay, hold on. There is a major echo. There probably is an echo. March 20th. Okay, I fixed the echo. My bad. That was a rookie mistake.
Bro, what's going on?
That was definitely a rookie mistake. It kind of sounded cool in the headphones, so I'm not going to lie. But yeah, March 20th, 2025. Last night was AEW, and then today it's Thursday, obviously, and last night's Dynamite. I watched it live. I watched Evolve on demand. Obviously, we're going to talk about it a lot. If you guys want to be part of the conversation and drive the conversation forward, of course, we have our Super Chat goal active. We'll throw your chats up on the screen. We'll read them. We'll talk. This is going to be a healthy conversation. There might be some criticism. There might be some things that it's all constructive, obviously, as pretty much with any other stream that we do. But there was a lot of things that I was looking forward to last night with Dynamite. And to be fair, in Omaha, there was a blizzard. So obviously, Tony Khan couldn't have a full show planned the exact way that he wanted it because obviously talent couldn't make it. And then you got stories like Jon Moxley driving 11 hours just to be there, that kind of thing. Yep. But I'm joined by Billy TKO, and Billy, obviously we're going to do a deep dive into this, but just like obviously you've been relatively happy with AEW as of late. Watching last night's episode, what was kind of like your reaction while watching it?
Yeah, no, I talked about it a little bit in my video today, but it just kind of confusing, right? Like, okay, it wasn't that the show was bad, because it wasn't, right? Mm-hmm. Like, there was, like, a lot of emphasis on the women, which I was a big fan of. But just overall, like, some things just naturally confused me, I think, a little bit more than maybe it should have originally. I don't know. I don't know. But we'll talk about it. I'll give you guys, like, my in-depth analysis on why I thought it was confusing.
Yeah, so let's just kind of just jump right into it, right? What exactly were you confused about?
Okay, so it was kind of weird because AEW has this thing, right, where they do a really good job at like kicking something off. And let's just start off with one of the big talking points, which was FTR.
Yeah.
Right? And how Dax Harwood walked out on Cope and Cash Wheeler and stuff like that. Like, that in itself looks really good. The problem with it is AEW has this reputation of kind of messing things up along the lines. And that's just the reputation that they built. Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and say for everybody, but for a lot of people, right? So AEW chooses to have Dax Harwood walk out on Cope and Cash Wheeler. What confused me about it is where do you plan on going with this? Because, okay, if you're going to turn them heel, I'm a fan of that. I like that. But if you're going to break up FTR, because you have to understand, I know not everybody is going to think like this, but my brain immediately went to, are they going to break up FTR? Which I don't like, right? My brain moved that way because of the reputation that AEW has built. So therefore, I became confused on exactly what was happening and how soon are we going to get a follow-up? Is it going to be on Collision? Is it going to be on Dynamite? When are they going to do it? How are they going to do it? Because FTR, they've been around on the shows and stuff, but they're not fluently on the shows, if that makes sense. You know, I'm not a watcher of Collision, so you guys could hopefully, you know, let me know in the chat below. But
yeah, well, they were off of television for a little bit of time, but the reality is this, man. I don't think FTR breaks up. I mean, I do think they're both going to go heel. And I think really what this is coming down to is you need to move Cope away from the World Championship. So I like the fact that they planted the seed, honestly. You got Dash Wheeler or whatever, like in the ring helping Cope up. But then you have Dax walking away, and that to me is like, okay, well, why did he walk away? Is it because he just came out there, delivered a pile driver, and beat the shit out of everybody to clear the ring, and Cope still couldn't get it done? He gave up, you know? I think that's kind of the reason for why he did it. Personally speaking, I thought it was executed pretty well. You know, the thing is, if you got to move Cope away from the world title, what's the next reasonable move?
Well, they did the right thing with the patriarchy showing up.
Yes, and if you notice, the patriarchy showed up without Christian. So to me, based on what we saw last week with Nick Wayne and his behavior towards Christian, I think Christian is going to go babyface, actually. So
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
I think after last night, I'm under the belief that they're going to set up Edge and Christian tag team run, and FTR being heel. And I think Cope is definitely going to get a championship run as tag team champions. I think long term it just makes more sense for AEW to go that route because of the fact that obviously there's that history and that friendship with FTR.
So you wouldn't do the match though between Christian and Edge?
No.
No, really?
You could do that for
Yeah, I
Cope's
was about
last
to
match.
say. I think you think is his last match.
I think the way this is going to go down is pretty easy. Okay, so I think they tease the FTR thing with Dax walking out. I think eventually Dash Wheeler will, he'll kind of. I think Wheeler joins. I think
Dax.
Wheeler. Yeah, I think Wheeler joins Dax. They cement a heel turn. Obviously, the patriarchy showed up last night without Christian. This is going to lead to Christian breaking away from the patriarchy. As we all saw Nick Wayne's segment from the previous week, I think Adam Copeland and Christian do a tag team run. And then, I think maybe at All In, it would probably make the most sense. They do this thing where you get, Copeland and Christian versus FTR tag team championship match. Obviously, this means the belts have to come off the Hurt Syndicate, but that's kind of what I got from Dynamite last night. And then if you want to talk about Cope's final match in AEW, then you do it with Christian. I would much rather see him put over some young and coming, like up and coming star or whatever, but I would be okay with Cope versus Christian final match, retirement, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I could see that, and I would actually be a really big fan of that. So now looking at it from that direction, that angle makes a lot of sense if you do it that way. If you do FTR versus Christian and Cope, I would actually be a pretty big fan of that. And ultimately, it's just the goal here is to get Cope away from the world title picture. I think that just has to happen now.
It has to happen. I mean, at this point, it's become redundant, and
yes.
I think AEW knows that. Listen, this was supposed to be the match that happened at Revolution, and for whatever reason, FTR couldn't be there or whatever it was. I don't know. But
I said that too. Even with the Death Rider showing up and stuff like that, like this was the match that they were supposed to book at Revolution.
I think this was the match they originally wanted to book, and I don't think they were able to. And that's why Tony Khan ran it back, because they needed the returns of FTR. So I think FTR prevented that. Which I'm okay with this, honestly. Like, I thought this was like a really solid match too. I think a lot of people are kind of being dickheads on the internet about it because of the spot with the spikes, yeah. But at the same time too, like John Moxley, bro, and you know this, like I'm not too fond of all the gruesomeness and wrestling. I've gone to GCW shows and seen the death matches and stuff, and it's not in particular for me, right? It's not particularly for me. But what I will say is I'm not going to complain about it, because at the end of the day, if you want to talk about an alternative to WWE, that is part of what makes AEW different. Now, it may not be everybody's cup of tea, and I'm not saying it will be everybody's cup of tea. And I'm not, and truth be told, I think really what it comes down to is this. I think AEW, they lean so much being a WWE light type of program. At this point, they got everything that truly made them different from WWE was the records, and those are gone. So this is kind of another version of WWE. So at the very least, you're going to get stuff like this. Is it for me? No, personally, it's not. Even when I was watching Hell in a Cell with Punk and Drew McIntyre, and you see all the blood and shit, I'm not really for that, to be honest. Is it special when it's used sparingly? Of course, because then it sells the feud, and that's why I think WWE does a better job with that. But for AEW, it is a selling point that you are going to see it on TV every week. Sure, it's not going to be as special, but it does become a difference maker between them and the other companies out there. So for me, the way I look at this is the match was fine. I thought the match was great. The FTR thing was great. This doesn't change the fact that, it doesn't change the fact that, in my opinion, my humble opinion, honest opinion, is that the Death Riders suck.
Bro, oh, goodness gracious. Yes, it's horrible. I think MJF said it. He called him Dictator John.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
It's like a real statement.
And nobody can really, I'm sorry, but nobody could really change my mind. The Death Riders thing is really just not good.
Well, I think that the word that you used earlier, redundant, just kind of repeating and repeating and repeating. That's what it feels like is happening.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing too, and I'm gonna, I know Pete Rocks has been watching our live streams a lot, so I'm gonna give him a shout out
Yeah.
and a thank you for watching us, and helping drive the conversation further. But Pete Rock says, you know what makes AEW different? AEW is a pro wrestling company, and WWE tells everyone they are storytelling first. Well, the thing is, AEW's best content on their TV, by the way. Just saying this, like this is the truth. If you look at Dynamite last night, and I know Pete said this in the chat, and sometimes I don't know if Pete is a troll or not, because honestly, like
It does help drive the conversation.
he does, yeah. But what I will say is like the best stuff on AEW is the character driven and the storytelling driven content. Nobody cares about fucking watching Will Ospreay and AR Fox. And it was a good match, but nobody's talking about it. But you know what they're talking about? They're talking about Tony Storm and Megan Bayne. They're talking about Cope and FTR. Like there's things that are being talked about on this program, and it has zero to do with the wrestling. So the thing is, I feel like a lot of conversations are disingenuous, especially after watching Dynamite so much for the last 5 years. I think people who genuinely talk shit about AEW don't know what they're talking shit about. Like, I genuinely believe this. I feel like me and you have done a really, really good job of talking about AEW and being open and honest and transparent without actually fucking just lying and bullshitting. Because if you look at Dynamite last night, I know like Phil said in the chat, oh, I was just shocked that it didn't main event the show. But the reality is, you can't have this match main event the show because people are fed up with the Death Riders. People are not happy with the Death Riders. So you end the show with FTR doing the heel turn thing. Cool, but is that really a big way to end the show? You have...
Not at this point. I mean, if you were to ask me 3-4 years down ago, I would have said, yes, that is obviously a huge deal. But the way that it's being positioned on TV and the way that they've maneuvered through the storyline, it doesn't make sense for it to main event because it doesn't have the excitement. And they know AEW's not dumb. Tony Khan's not dumb. He's aware. He goes on the internet. He's not stupid. He knows that people do not like this storyline. So he's positioning it, and he still did a good job positioning it, by the way. He still put it on that 9 o'clock hour. I want to put that out there. He did do a really good job at positioning it in like a really good time slot where your viewership is going to spike the most is at that 9 o'clock slot.
Yeah.
But
no,
yeah,
I agree.
I mean, overall, like, no, it just doesn't make sense right now for that to main event the show, especially coming out of Revolution and everything that happened.
And by the way, Chris Statlander and Megan Bayne went out there and did a great job, so there was nothing wrong with the main event.
Nope.
I think it's crazy, though, that the conversation has kind of become like... and the reality is this. I don't care. I'm saying this flat out because I think a lot of people just want to be in denial about it. But AEW's viewership has obviously gone down. I don't give a fuck what anybody says about HBO Max numbers. The Max streaming numbers aren't public. And I can certainly tell you right now that like when it comes to TV, it's all about creating compelling stories to get people invested. Doesn't mean the wrestling aspect is not important, but it just means people care about the stories. And I think it is very evident for AEW that this Death Rider thing is not helping the cause. So at the end of the day, what's going to leave people with a good taste in their mouth? Tony Storm. Why? Because Tony Storm is such a very good character, and she's not only a great character, but she's such a great performer where it's like people are genuinely hooked on it. So at some point you got to change it up and have a main event that actually makes sense. And
well,
no,
sorry,
go ahead. Go ahead, Billy. You're good.
What I was gonna say is like this is what drives me crazy about like the people who like say they watch AEW, and this isn't to just like shit on like a whole group of people, but I really have to point this out. It's like people love to say like, oh, AEW is great because of the pro wrestling. No, let's be real here. A lot of people, me included, I'm one of the people, choose to watch AEW and WWE, both of them, for pure entertainment, right? Because when I get off of work every day, I want to go home. I like to be entertained.
Yeah.
I think we could all agree with that.
For sure.
Right? I'm sorry. I am going to stay in say what you want. I don't care. I watch pro wrestling strictly for the entertainment and the storytelling aspect of it because I'm easily entertained by good storytelling. It's the same reason I watch a movie.
Yeah.
Right? So therefore, I don't necessarily care about all of the action that goes on in the ring. I appreciate it, and I think what they do is amazing, right? Because I'll never underline that.
Yeah.
But the fact that people are sitting up here and saying, you've said it before, people will say that they watch New Japan Pro Wrestling, All Japan, like all of these different things. Oh, because we love the pro wrestling, and then, like you said, everything's just AEW, AEW. The truth of the matter here is even those people, they do it in a way that, like, they want it to make sense in their mind. Sorry to break it to everybody, you build a delusion in your head so much you start to believe it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I watch AEW because I just like the pro wrestling. No, shut up. You want to be entertained too. And you're just mad that not everything is entertaining, so now people are calling it out. You have a problem with it. So when we see people like Tony Storm, who has obviously done great storytelling,
Yeah,
right, with Mariah May, I'm going to now be more invested in her because of the storytelling that she's done. Same applies with Swerve Strickland, right?
yeah.
That's another person who has done great storytelling on TV. So I think it's just a really funny, like, talking point that people use when they talk about the pro wrestling side of it. It's never been that. They know that. We know that. It's all about the entertainment value. And what you could say AEW is a great pro wrestling company because they are.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we all know wrestling is supposed to be a show based around pro wrestling. Sorry.
I'll tell you right now, this is a perfect example of, like, and I know this is probably going to piss some people off, but the way I like to think of it is when I was in high school, right? And bear with me, I'm trying to use a specific example, but there was a time back in high school, and it was really the mixtape era of hip-hop music, right? So at that time, a lot of people used hot new hip-hop and Dat Piff, right? So the people that use these websites were the ones who would walk around school, and I swear to God, bro, they would be like, yo, did you hear that new Currency song or Wiz Khalifa song? And at this time, mixtape era, Wiz Khalifa's not famous, right? This is like he's kind of getting there, but he's not even there yet, right? And it's like, oh no, I didn't hear it. And like they try to gatekeep it from you because to them it's like this is cool and this is sacred to me because I found it and you didn't, right? And the thing is, I feel like wrestling fans have kind of been like that with AEW, where it's like, this is special to me and you don't like it, so fuck you. You're not going to have access to the things I like.
Yes.
And the reality is, like, that's fine. There's no growth coming from that.
Exactly.
Right? And you should want growth to come from it. So, like, a lot of times people, and it's funny because I'll see it in the chat, I'll see it on Twitter. Oh, don't watch it. Don't watch it then if you didn't like it. You criticize one thing, it's like, hey, Ango, don't watch it. Well, if I don't watch it,
that's one less viewer that AEW gets.
Then your baby's going away. This thing that you're trying to gatekeep is going to go away because guess what? You say that to me, now go say it to a million other people, which, by the way, they used to have over 1 million viewers. They don't have 1 million viewers anymore. They are consistently losing to NXT. And then you got reporters coming out, more specifically Dave Meltzer. We'll use his name. I'm not going to shy away from it. But NXT numbers get reported, and it's lowest numbers of the year. Their lowest numbers of the year are still better than AEW's. But when he reports AEW's, it's, well, AEW was competing with this, and this. Still number one on cable. By the way, this doesn't include HBO Max numbers. Come on, bro. Come on. Yep. This is why the ratings discourse is so fucking stupid. Because at the end of the day, as I've said a million times on this channel, it's not about the specific number, but it's a trend. You can tell if it's going up, obviously there's more and more viewers. If it's going down, it's obviously not captivating enough to capture viewers. So the thing is with AEW, the real conversation point really comes down to is, are you creating compelling characters or stories for people to be invested in? And the IWC will sit here and trash Jey Uso. They will trash Cody Rhodes. They will trash Sami Zayn. They'll trash Drew McIntyre. They'll trash CM Punk. They'll trash Kevin Owens. But if you look at WWE's programming and you see that they are selling 13, 15, 16,000 seats for a TV show and they're doing great viewership, at the end of the day, how can you sit here and say that they're fucking bad? Subjectively, you could sit here and say, I don't like pickles on my pizza. That's fine. You could sit there and say, I don't like this storyline. That's apples to apples. But to sit here and say something sucks and it's not working and it's a failure and Triple H sucks at booking, clearly that's not true because the numbers and the attendance and the merch sales and the momentum that they have is completely different from AEW. So I think when I was watching AEW last night, and you kind of mentioned the confusion thing, it was a good episode for me, but I feel like Tony Khan planted a seed for something potentially big with FTR, which I feel like FTR for a long time in AEW has kind of been relatively boring. Also, tag team division has been relatively boring. So that's 2 fixes right there if they go the route that I'm thinking. And then on top of that, I needed Cope to get away from the World Championship because I didn't want Cope to win the World Championship. I don't like the Death Rider storyline, but I don't want Cope to win it. That doesn't make me excited.
They're essentially killing 3 birds with 1 stone.
Of course. And so the thing is, like, there was some improvement last night. And obviously I've been talking relatively good about Collision, but when I watched AEW, and like this was my thing too, and I wanted to pull up the super chat, Phil dropped it, because this is a perfect example of how everybody could be satisfied. But Phil says the 3-way for the international title confused me considering this whole tournament was to get a number 1 contender. Kenny is retaining, and I just hope they find a way to not make Speedball and Ricochet look weak. So here's the thing, right? Like, I really, really, really thought this Fatal 4-Way match thing was sick. I thought it was ridiculously good. And Mark Davis is somebody who I've not been high on, came across to me as somebody where it's like, I know I don't have faith in AEW to do something with you, but at least thank you for showing me a reason as to why I think they should do something with you. Because that's how I feel, right? I thought it was great. But Phil is right. You're looking for a number 1 contender. You have Bryce Remsburg, the referee, turning the angle so he doesn't see the double count out. It just felt a little too choreographed at the end, but the match was really good. But it goes back to what I was saying, right? You now have an opportunity to satisfy everybody. Because guess what, buddy? You think Ricochet is a great wrestler. Cool. What does he finally have that he's never really had? A character. I think his character sucks, by the way. Not to cut you off, but I think his character sucks. And I've said it before. I think it's corny. I think it's cringy. But that's the way it's supposed to be. It doesn't. It's not entertainment to me. I just think it's cringe, to be honest. And maybe that's my maturity level. I don't know.
But just because it's not for you doesn't mean it's not for everybody else.
But there's a reason why I see people liking it. Exactly. Right. And I understand why people like it, and that's cool. It doesn't. I don't have to like every character. There's a lot of characters in WWE I also don't like. But my point that I'm making is the reason why it works for Ricochet is because there's something there where it gets people saying, "Ooh, I want to boo that guy." Great, that's awesome. That's what you need, right? So the thing is, I read this super chat and then I'm thinking, Phil's right. It is kind of confusing. It is kind of weird because the tournament was to find a number 1 contender, and then they kind of went this route of where Tony Khan probably didn't know exactly how to, you don't want to discredit Ricochet and Speedball, so you put them in a triple threat. There's a different way to get there. And I think that's the big thing, right? And so, but if you look at AEW last night, it was finally a show where I feel like your character stuff, great. Your storytelling stuff, great. Even the angle with MJF, right? How are they going to follow up with him in the Hurt
I was
business?
a big fan of that.
I was too. We'll see what it leads to. But it's all about follow-up and execution, and that's where AEW has to be really good about it. Because if you're going to give people good wrestling matches, which they do, Will Ospreay, AR Fox was a perfect example of a good wrestling match, and they do cool stuff. But why are people not talking about it? What are people's investment into AR Fox?
There's none. I mean, they haven't even shown you a lick of anything on why you should be invested in AR Fox. Like, that to me was confusing. Especially coming off the match that Will Ospreay had at Revolution.
Yeah, and
I'm not saying it wasn't a good match.
Will Ospreay, people will say, "Oh, he's just a good wrestler." No, he's not. He's a great promo.
No,
Will Ospreay really is the aerial assassin. That's his character is based on the fact that he is a really good wrestler. Well, who else had a very successful gimmick that way? Bryan Danielson. So being the best wrestler in a company where everybody's the best wrestler is cool, but you got to have something about you that draws people in.
And Will Ospreay does.
Yeah. Speedball Mike Bailey. A lot of people, and I know the account, I don't give it attention because there's these are like the bot accounts that exist, right? There's the anti-WWE ones, and then there's the anti-AEW ones. And it's like, I forgot, something juicy or whatever, like putting out tweets about Speedball Mike Bailey and shit. It's like, bro, Speedball Mike Bailey it's a known fact that Speedball probably doesn't have the best mic skills. But at the same time, too, he is such a unique wrestler and he's got charisma as a performer in the ring which, by the way, because I've watched TNA so often and so much, and I've become a big fan of the guy. Storytelling and having characteristics about you, sometimes it's not just Tony Storm level or Roman Reigns level things. Sometimes it's just what you do in the ring. And Speedball Mike Bailey does that in the ring. So to me, I don't look at that as a weakness.
No, and like kind of going back to what Phil said, I just want to kind of circle back to where he said about, he didn't really understand why Speedball and Ricochet both got this spot. I think one of our biggest arguments to having Kenny face somebody individually, we kind of knew he was going to run them over, right? Because we all understand what's going to happen. So I think what AEW did here is they chose to put Speedball and Ricochet in, and they started to create a story between that, which ultimately makes it make sense why Kenny would beat both of them, because they would already be feuding for
Correct.
something.
That's the only thing that I will accept in this match, because I do believe it is incredibly predictable, as I've stated for months. Kenny, Okada, title for title. So that's obviously something to mention. And really, one thing I do want to point out is with Kenny in AEW holding the international championship. This is where AEW has to be a differentiator from WWE. Kenny is a phenomenal pro wrestler. You let him mix it up with Speedball and Ricochet, you are going to get magic. It will be a fantastic match. There's no doubt about that. There's not a glimpse of a possible thought in my head where I sit here and think it's not going to be good, because that's just not how I feel about it. Genuinely, I feel like it's going to be a fantastic match. However, now the booking is, how do you make Speedball and Ricochet not look weak? Well, if they're going to feud with each other afterwards, it's really important that they don't look weak. So, and by the way, that's a feud that's really tough, because can both guys really afford the loss? No, I don't think so. And that's always been my gripe about AEW. For the sake of getting a better match, sometimes you put people who can't really afford to lose matches, and that's what happens. And that's why there's always going to be this issue with AEW where people it's very rare somebody truly hits their ceiling like they should. And by the way, there are examples of people who have, right? Tony Storm and Swerve Strickland are two phenomenal examples. And Swerve Strickland and Tony Storm also, by the way, are two incredible performers, but two incredible characters with two incredible mic promos skills and like character-driven skills, right? So that's the thing to me that I need to point out, is that when you see these people who break that ceiling, it's the people that are truly getting fans invested in it. And I just want to make that very clear. I don't care what anybody on the internet says, because it's all disingenuous. It's all disingenuous. But the reality is, we are at a stage, where characters matter, and having characteristics matter, and being a good performer matters. And there are people in AEW who are good performers.
They tick. There's people in AEW that tick all of those boxes, but then you have individuals that don't.
Exactly, but then you have people like Harley Cameron, for example, who gets extremely over, and now she's in a mask.
Right. Yeah.
So, shout out to Phil for the super chat. Richard Cohn dropping a couple super chats. The first one says, "What was that crap last night?" Scratching my head. I'm not really sure what this is in reference to. I'm assuming it's probably got to do with the Jon Moxley Death Rider thing, because Richard did drop another super chat as well for $2. He said, where is it right here? He says, "I'm tired of the Death Rider crap. It's boring." And then Richard Cohn also dropped another one for $2. He says, "Hey, Ango, you and Billy are the best. Thank you." Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I really just don't like the Death Riders.
Yeah, not a fan. I'm over it at this point. You know what I'm saying? Ready for it to be done.
Yeah, no, it's got to be done. There's no,
for sure.
But it's not going to be done, and that's the problem.
All right. Now, my hope is that with Swerve, hopefully they'll get away from Moxley now.
But now, what do you do with Swerve and Moxley at Dynasty?
Well, that's my hope, is that you have Swerve win. I hope you have Swerve win the title, especially because they had that moment with Prince Nana after. It's not like they're not knowing that, like, they're not focusing on Swerve and Moxley. So my hope is that at Dynasty, Swerve can win the title. We could be done with the Death Riders, even if you just push them off to the side. Like, even if you want to still keep them around, like, if that's really what you feel you need to do, fine. Just please get it away from the world title picture. Please. Oh, please.
It's got to end. It's got to end.
Does.
I know this is not the popular opinion, but the Death Rider thing, like, fuck, bro. We got Ricochet and Mike Bailey and Kenny Omega doing a triple threat match. Now, imagine if Pac wasn't part of fucking Death Riders. Imagine if Pac was sitting there where, like, he was free and clear from that bullshit ass group, and he was making it a fatal 4-way for the international championship. Like, bro, do people understand what you could be getting with these guys individually instead of being in the shitty ass group? Wheeler Yuta's gonna be gone from the group. Claudio needs to get gone from the group. I have never seen
individual success that these guys can have.
100%. And by the way, Claudio Castagnoli, people said, WWE, AEW does him better than WWE. Well, if that's the case, then why the fuck is he jumping the guardrail, hitting uppercuts, getting involved in this match? What is that doing for him? Nothing. Why has anybody, like, and that's my issue with the Death Riders. Who is it actually benefiting? My question to Tony Khan is, what is this group doing to benefit the members of the group? What is it doing to benefit your product, your program, your shows? It's not.
Man. He knows. He's aware.
And Tony Khan is not an idiot, bro. Tony Khan is not an idiot. Tony Khan, literally, we know this. Tony Khan is paying attention to the dirt sheets. He's paying attention to the YouTubers. He's paying attention to the Twitter accounts. But the reality is, with as much as Tony Khan pays attention to, this is where I think Tony Khan is being a little stubborn. I think Tony Khan is being a little bit he has his own plan, whether it's Darby, whatever it may be. But the reality is, at some point, you got to take a look and realize, we don't like this. At some point, you got to realize your fans do not like it. Your fans are not happy when Jon Moxley wins. And Jon Moxley, by the way, and I have a lot of praise for Jon Moxley. I've said this a lot, and I've actually said, build your shows around Jon Moxley. He's a guy that left WWE and became an AEW lifer. He truly has bought into AEW. When there was things going on backstage, Jon Moxley was said, there was a lot of reports, a lot of talks. He was the leader. He didn't like what was happening backstage in AEW. So the reality is this, with Jon Moxley, he's a phenomenal talent and a phenomenal champion and a phenomenal person to be there backstage and to be on this program. But this group is not benefiting anybody. And we could sit here and debate this all day for anybody who wants to debate me on this. And I know people don't like to do the whole bullshit where it's WWE and AEW comparisons, but we are going to do that. Look at the Bloodline. Who benefited from being in the Bloodline? Sami Zayn, Jey Uso. Now we're seeing Jimmy's starting to see the benefit of it, right? Then you got Cody, obviously, who benefited from it. Then you had people, which, by the way, in the Vince stages, no, people didn't really benefit from it. But look at Kevin Owens and Drew McIntyre.
Dude, you can even go ahead and say, like, John Cena's now benefiting from that.
There is a lot of people who have benefited because of the Bloodline storyline. Now, did Claudio Castagnoli benefit from the Bloodline when he had a fantastic match with Roman, but he lost? No, he didn't. That's obviously different bookers.
That was in the Vince stages.
But if you look at Triple H's way of booking the Bloodline, and I'm not saying book Death Riders to the Bloodline, but what I'm saying is it's a perfect example of how a group has benefited people from either competing with or being in the group from within. So for the Death Rider storyline, I'm not seeing that at all these last few months. I'm not seeing one person come out really shining. And so Tony Khan, honestly, he really needs to just get away from it. And if your plan is for Darby Allin at All In, you're screwed, buddy, because guess what? Yeah. There is no momentum for Darby Allin, and people don't really care. And listen, you have Will Ospreay, you got Swerve, you got Samoa Joe, you got some people that you know you could heavily rely on. By the way, maybe Kenny Omega probably shouldn't be holding the international championship at this stage. Maybe Kenny Omega should become the final boss of AEW because that's the kind of fucking person he is. But what do I know? I don't write a wrestling TV show. I don't work for AEW. But my point that I'm making is any suggestion I have truly is better than the Death Rider stuff, because I know Tony Khan could sit here and be like, oh, I thought we had a great show. Hey, our ratings are good and our TV partners are happy. Good for you, bro. But guess what? It doesn't change the fact that your fucking numbers went down and you got to do music halls instead of actual arenas. So the reality is, this is your star storyline. This is your main storyline across your show. And you have plenty of other people who could be in that position and get the things back on track. And it makes me a little bit more optimistic for AEW when we do get episodes like we have been getting, where
because they are good shows.
There's more good than bad for sure.
Right.
More good than bad. So I do get optimistic, but until that changes, it makes me question Tony Khan's ability to actually run the show. And if that's controversial or if that makes me a hater, then I'm okay with that. Honestly, I'm straight up okay with that.
And here's my thing. If you don't think the Death Rider storyline angle, after everything Ango just delivered to you guys, if you don't think that storyline needs to come to an end, then you live in a delusion and a false reality, and I'm sorry, and I wish you the best.
But the thing is, I get it. It's subjective, right? Storytelling is subjective. But at some point, you do got to look like... And again, I hate to do the comparison to WWE, but this is how you have an intelligent conversation about things. We could sit here and all day talk about Jey Uso being a great wrestler or a bad wrestler, but
it's just about people also succeeding from that group, other people.
But it's not just that. But like, look at Jey Uso on TV. You got the whole crowd going crazy. I don't see the crowd being excited to see the Death Riders. I don't even see the crowd. Yes, the crowd gets excited when. Of course, the crowd gets excited when Copeland's music hits, but people aren't watching this match being like phenomenal, like super invested and loving it, and And the thing is, it's a utilization problem, right? So the thing is, when you're watching this show and you're seeing what's unfolding, at some point you do have to take notes from what's working for other companies. For TNA, it's Joe Hendry, right? The System is a great faction. But the System also kind of suffers the same issue as the Death Riders in a certain way.
What they just did with Nick Nemeth and Ryan Nemeth is really good.
Yeah, so there's ways to get things on track and to get things going, but you have to look at it from a perspective of like, listen, man, you have a lot of good stuff happening on your show, but this is the thing that's leading your show. So ultimately, right, when you watch WWE SmackDown, and we've talked about this, SmackDown sometimes could be too long with 3 hours. And some of the stuff is okay, and like the mid-card stuff is getting a little bit better, and the tag team division is heating up. Okay, that's cool. Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte's okay. It's not bad. It has its good moments, but it's not like amazing.
Yeah, right.
But it's decent. Now, combine all of that with a shitty storyline for Cody Rhodes. Then it would be a much worse situation. But the fact that their main story is good, it's great. It keeps people from saying, oh, it's not a bad episode. It was a good episode, right? So the thing is, with AEW, they have to change the narrative by looking at their world title picture and realizing that right now it's not good. Sweet, we're going to get Swerve and Jon Moxley, but if you guys screw Swerve, people are not going to be happy about that.
No, I even think the people that are supporting AEW right now to the fullest extent wouldn't be happy.
So, of course, because people want change, bro.
Yes.
Just like we've all been demanding change in the women's division and creating new stars. Hello, me, I have been. I know others have, but I have been. So, of course, when I'm watching Megan Bayne and Chris Statlander and then I see the follow-up with Tony and Megan Bayne.
You get happy about it.
How can I not?
Right.
My thing is I want more women stars to be introduced properly. I want more stars in general to be introduced properly. But Megan Bayne comes out and she wreaks havoc everywhere last week. We see what's happening on Collision and Dynamite. And then, oh, by the way, she has this match with Chris Statlander. And then how do you end the show? She's beating up Toni Storm. They're fighting back and forth. Toni Storm cuts that awesome promo. Wow, yeah, you announced the match to Dynasty. You didn't need to give me 8 weeks of a story, but you had to give me a little bit of something. They gave me a little bit of something in a few weeks, and I'm happy with it. So it's as simple as that. It's something fresh and something new.
Into that. Now there's some investment in that.
Exactly. Richard Cohn dropping more super chats. Actually, I saw Darth Bane drop to you a super chat. I can't pull up your super chats.
I know.
But Darth Bane dropped at $1.99 to Billy's channel, and he said, I want to give some love to Billy's channel. So shout out to Darth Bane. And thank you, Darth Bane, for supporting Billy. Richard Cohn dropping a $2 super chat. He says, what's going on? Ricochet is boring. It's subjective. You know, like I said, for me, it's just not a character that I personally care about. I think it's corny and cringy.
I'm a fan of the character.
Yeah.
Ricochet. I've been a fan. Yeah. So, we disagree there. But again, it's not for everybody.
But that's okay because, again, that's more of like that's not the big storyline for the company. That's not the storyline that's driving the company.
Right.
It's a mid-card storyline. It's just it's a character I don't really care about. But am I excited about Ricochet versus Speedball versus Kenny Omega? Bet your ass I am.
Best bet. You best bet.
Am I rooting for Ricochet? Fuck no. But that's just because I don't care.
Rooting for Ricochet.
But that's just because I'm not invested in him. So that's fine. And that's okay. I could still say that and then admit, okay, this is going to be awesome to watch anyways. I'm just not going to care so much about his character. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, agreed.
Richard Cohn following up with that with another $2 super chat. He said, what happened to the Jeff Jarrett storyline? Dropped?
Yeah, that shit got... Oh, man. Yeah, I remember there was a moment of very, very big complaint, I think from me. Because... Yeah, why? What happened? Where'd it go? Do you know?
I'm not complaining about shit.
I mean, I'm not going to complain that the storyline didn't end up doing anything, but it's the fact that, you put it on TV and then... But again, I think that comes down to the point of, all right, are we going to sit here and complain that we're not getting to what was going to be a bad story anyway? You know what I mean? Nobody was really being oh yeah, we want to see this on TV. There were some good moments, but it wasn't anything that I was truly invested in.
Yeah. Shout out to Jeff Jarrett. I love the guy, but
yeah,
I'm good on that. I'm good on that.
Agreed.
Shout out to Richard Cohn, by the way, for the super chats. Appreciate you, brother. Yeah, I feel like I said, man, Dynamite. It's just weird. It's a weird situation because the Death Rider thing really is the thing that just ruins it for me. I thought it was a very solid episode, and that Fatal 4-Way was awesome. I didn't care for the finish. I thought that was kind of lazy, but yeah, I feel like to a certain extent there is this thing with AEW where it's just. You gotta be consistent and you gotta execute properly. And I don't.
Yes.
There was nothing on last night's episode that gives me confidence to see AEW execute properly. That's just the reality. I think that's Tony Khan's biggest creative issue that he has as a creative, as somebody booking the shows. I think that is a very, 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 very big thing of mine. I just. From day one, I feel like he has way more misses than hits, And I'm not saying it's 100% ass, because I was very happy with Samoa Joe getting the belt when he did. I was happy with Swerve. But even yesterday too, for example, this is a perfect example of sometimes I don't think they know what they're doing. Hangman Page is going to be in the Owen Hart Cup. Great, I'm fine with that. The Owen Hart Cup is going to be incredibly stacked, and I'm cool
because
about that.
That's going to determine who faces the champion at All In, if I'm not mistaken.
So, we'll see how they go about it this year. What they decide to do.
I'm pretty sure Tony Schiavone announced it.
Yeah, I'm not real. You know how I told you yesterday, I don't even watch Raw with commentary all the time.
Yeah,
I stopped. I definitely don't watch AEW with commentary. I keep the volume down. Nothing against Tony Schiavone and Excalibur. I just don't care about their commentary. I do think AEW needs to make a commentary change.
For sure.
So that's just
a fan. I'm not a fan of Excalibur. I'll be honest.
Yeah, and it's nothing against them personally. It's the same thing. It's just hard for me. I really honestly my favorite commentator in AEW is Taz, and I love Taz. I like Tony Schiavone too, but sometimes I don't know. It's just. That's just more of a personal thing. It has nothing to do with AEW, and it's like with WWE how we were talking about Pat McAfee. I really really love Joe Tessitore. I think he's a phenomenal commentator. I really like Mauro Ranallo. I like that eccentric, fun commentary, hype, and Taz isn't that, but Taz to me just has a great voice for commentary. So
yeah, he's had it for years.
Yeah, and especially when he used to do SmackDown. So
right.
but I don't watch with commentary very often. I keep it low volume. But then this is the perfect example though of AEW. It was just like there's things about the company that I care about, and there's things I don't care about the company. But Tony Khan has shown us a lot of times that he doesn't know how to execute often or consistently. So when I see Hangman Page is going to be in the Owen Hart Cup, I'm cool with it. Like, I'm happy about it. If they're going to do it for the, winner's going to go get a title match, that's cool. But at the same time, too, this is where I have a problem with too many tournaments. It's a criticism that I've been having about WWE as of late and with AEW. It's like, we just had a tournament for the International Championship. Now we're going to have the Owen Hart Cup. So, like, that draws some concerns because then it becomes repetitive. And what I would rather see is this character development for certain guys lead to opportunities.
Right.
And I think Hangman, honestly,
his character's fine.
Hangman's character is great, but I'm sitting here thinking like, man, why isn't he the big baby face that they need to save the company? Like the guy, all elite wrestling, Hangman Page, like he's an OG. A phenomenal baby face. Why are we doing this whole thing where he's like not the big baby face?
Right.
So
it's funky.
It's funky. And that's just like a personal preference thing. But I think really what it comes down to is sometimes I just don't think Tony Khan truly knows the direction of where he wants to take everybody.
Again, we've talked about it numerous times. It's an identity struggle. When you lose and you struggle in your identity, you're always going to run yourself in circles. And that's what Tony Khan has done. He's ran himself in numerous amounts of circles to the point to where it's hard to keep up now. Therefore, he's lost track. He's lost track of his identity. He's lost track of the things that are going on the show. He's trying to make sense of everything himself and making sure that it lines up. And it's just not hitting because, again, when you lose track of your identity, nothing is going to hit. Because if I run a burger joint and I'm trying to promote my burger joint and I promote it to a way where I know that I'm doing it wrong and I'm trying to promote it to you guys, well, if I'm not doing it right, then how am I supposed to expect you guys to think that this is a good burger joint that you should probably come eat out at? Yeah. It doesn't happen like that.
Yeah. Richard Cohn dropping another $2 super chat. He says AEW has no storyline in its company. And that's where I disagree. I mean, they have, like yesterday.
I would disagree with that.
I think they have stories. I've always said, like, the narrative in the IWC is, they don't tell stories. That's not true. I think they tell stories. I think some stories are better than others. I think some storylines absolutely just suck. And then they do random stuff from time to time. It's not very consistent across the board, which it's okay if you are going to have certain parts of your show not necessarily have a big storyline, but you got to have some sort of direction for what you're doing with that particular match or performance or whatever. So that's where I think AEW is just very weird. It's like they have stories. Some of them are really good. They've had some really great stories, and then they've had some really garbage ones. And I'm not going to change my mind, bro. The Death Rider thing, I'm sorry, bro. Like, I can't sit there and defend it. It was something I was very, very excited about. And, the thing is, like, now I'm not really excited about it anymore because for the last few months, it just feels like I want to change the channel. Really, that's what it is. It's like it's making me yawn even thinking about it because it's just not good.
I'll just be honest here, just so everybody knows. I'm going to say it loud and proud. The Death Riders are boo-boo butt cheeks. There you go.
It is.
What I said.
It's not good, man. It's not.
No.
It hasn't been good for a long time. And again, I know Tony Khan's got his vision and he's sticking to it. It's very clear if you look at the program. But and like I said, I didn't even want Cope to win the belt. And I liked the match. I'm not complaining. I thought the match was cool. I just... Like, bro, how the fuck do you have some of the greatest wrestlers in the world and this is like your main event scene? And therefore I'm happy that we're going to get Swerve and Moxley. But if Moxley beats Swerve, which by the way, I think AEW should just call the fucking bullshit off Like, literally have Swerve win at Dynasty and have Swerve go all the way to All In. Let him run it all the way to All In and have him drop it to Will Ospreay or have him drop it to Hangman Page, right? Like, who's going to sit there and argue with Ango right now? Would you rather have Jon Moxley and the Death Riders go all the way until All In with some bullshit?
Hell no.
Or would you rather have Ango's idea, which is a very simple solution of Swerve wins the belt, let's revisit him and Hangman Page?
Yep.
Like like who would argue against that?
I'm not arguing.
Like, that's an easy reset. This doesn't take anything. It's not hard at all.
You can get to your reset point.
Oh, Hangman could. Oh my God, how easy is this? Hangman wins the Owen Cup at All In.
Swerve wins the championship.
At Dynasty, he wins the championship.
Yep.
That's how quick they got to do it. And then Moxley can go fight against whoever else. I don't give a shit. But at All In, headlined by Will Ospreay and Swerve or Hangman Page and Swerve. I can't see how anybody would sit there and be like, nah, I prefer the Death Riders over that.
Yeah, even if you want to do Will Ospreay, I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't.
How can anybody hate that idea, right? Like,
everything that Will Ospreay's done this year, everything Swerve's done, everything Hangman's done, I wouldn't be mad at any of those options.
Exactly, yeah. Shout out to Richard Cohn for the super chats. Phil dropping the $4.99. He says, whatever happened to a wrestler does not like, whatever happened to a wrestler, to wrestler A who does not like wrestler B. Rivalry starts for the championship or not for one. Why so many tournaments? It's crazy to me. Yeah, I mean, it's babyface doesn't like the heel doesn't like the babyface, right. And it's a storyline.
And you just give it some kind of logical reasoning.
And by the way, they just did that with Megan Bayne and Tony. So it's like, why can't you do that? You know, Kenny Omega has the international championship, and you're telling me that Ricochet couldn't come out there and be like, cocky son of a bitch, acting like he doesn't like Kenny, he despises Kenny. And then Ricochet tells him, bro, imagine if Ricochet was like, I hope diverticulitis killed you. Heat. I don't think it's a great line. I don't think it's one that, but for Ricochet's character, like, can you imagine if Ricochet were to do some shit like that? He stepped up to Kenny and then he started talking shit, and then Kenny's just going to humble him real quick. Like,
yeah,
traditional heel, traditional babyface, say something crazy, say something offensive, get people talking. Yeah, it's insane, bro. I don't like the idea of so many tournaments when you have so many marquee tournaments. It's my complaint about WWE. You have the triple threat. You have these tournaments that lead to a triple threat match, and then it leads to the singles match, which is fine. But when you're doing it all the time, I think it's too much. And then you have King of the Ring, And so it's like with AEW, it's the same thing. And then, by the way, they be doing tournaments all the freaking time. So WWE, it already annoys me with WWE when they do it. It annoys me more with AEW because AEW does it even more. It just, sometimes it's okay to have a wrestler come out, Kenny Omega coming out, cutting a promo, lights go out, he gets attacked. And then the following week, the person just explains why they attacked him. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, bro.
No, I would agree.
Crazy to think about, honestly.
Sure.
Honestly, crazy to think about. Shout out to Phil for the super chat. Glow J dropping a super chat for $2. Glow J, I don't know. Is this your first super chat on the channel? I'm not sure. But it's always nice seeing new faces. And
always.
Glow J says, whatever happened to Killswitch, I knew he was sick. Yeah, so Luchasaurus, aka Killswitch, he's been, I don't know if it was pneumonia. I don't wanna spread false information on somebody's health. I wanna say it was a situation with pneumonia, and then it led to him not being cleared, and then it was really bad. He just hasn't been cleared yet, to my knowledge. I feel like if he's been cleared, he would have showed up again with the patriarchy. I still think my idea of Christian and Cope tag teaming and Christian goes babyface, and we'll see how they reunite. That'll be interesting. But when Killswitch is back, you could keep him with Kip Sabian and Nick Wayne. Trios.
For sure. Let them be a trio and let him be the heavy hitter. Yeah. Why not?
Or you can, bring back Jungle Boy. Where the fuck is Jack Perry?
Don't ask me stupid questions. I don't know.
I just want to know where he's at.
Wasn't he the TBS champion?
Buddy.
Yeah, because Daniel Garcia won it from him.
Yeah, Daniel Garcia's champ.
I know Daniel Garcia is a champ, but he won it from Jack Perry. And then after that, he just disappeared.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the answer.
The Young Bucks are gone too, so maybe it has something to do with that because maybe they didn't have anything for him on TV because the Young Bucks are gone. But
Because the Death Riders are there. Yeah, but Okada's not even doing the show with the Elite anymore. Like, I don't know. It's all got dropped, bro. Crazy. I hate when shit gets dropped and there's no explanation.
Well, it kind of goes back to the Jeff Jarrett thing earlier. I think the Jeff Jarrett thing got dropped too. Like, what happened to that? They never got a follow up.
Yeah,
he cut like a crazy promo on MJF, and then nothing. Insane.
Yeah,
make that shit make sense, dude.
All right. Glow J follows up with a couple more super chats. Ango, you and Billy should write for AEW. Wow, I appreciate that. It's very nice when people say this, to be honest.
Very kind.
The word on the street is Tony Khan don't really rock with Ango, but that's okay. That's okay. You know, I gave you positivity with constructive criticism for the first 3 years of your television show. And after the first 3 years, the holes really start to get bigger and wider. And that's the truth. But I'm always going to be constructive criticism. And that's just how it's going to be. And I don't know if I would really want to write for AEW or WWE. I mean, listen, I'm going to be honest. I know it gets brought up in the chat. And I would love to be a writer for professional wrestling. I do feel like I would be an extraordinary writer. I feel like the reason why I would be an extraordinary writer is because there are some things historically that have appeared on television that I have contributed to that a lot of people are not aware of. And those things were met with some really great feedback. So
positive feedback, baby.
So what I will say is this. I think for me to be a full-time writer for a wrestling show, I will have everything mapped out long-term, especially with alternative plans just in case of injuries or blizzards get in the way. Because I think that's how good of a writer you have to be. Because you don't know. I mean, to be fair, AEW pulled off a great episode last night. I won't say great.
Yeah, it was.
It was a nice episode last night.
Yes.
And they pulled it off despite the fact that people had travel issues and stuff like that. So, which is good, right?
Yeah.
But I would be very mindful of that. And also, for me personally, I'm a collaborator, right? I like to collab with people, and I would like to share ideas with others and help each other build ideas. And I don't think AEW is a place where that is what they need right now. I think what AEW needs is one person. Submitting ideas to Tony Khan's one thing, but Tony Khan being one to take everybody's ideas just to make everybody happy, I don't think that's a solution. You know,
no, it's not. It never was,
and it never was. And I think that's hard. And I think too for Tony Khan, this is his baby, obviously. So I think there is that aspect to Tony Khan where, despite the criticism and despite the shit that other people will tell him,
he's gonna keep going.
He's gonna do what the fuck he wants to do because it's his money at the end of the day.
Right.
Glow J follows up with that with a $5 super chat. I didn't like those nails in Moxley's back. That was disturbing. How can him and his wife like that? Money can't be that important to get messed up. I understand this. I see everybody saying stuff like this, and I get it 100%. But one thing that does need to get brought up, honestly, Jon Moxley has been a crazy fucking guy his entire career, bro. Crazy guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's shit he's always done. Go back and watch the Nick Gage shit.
I don't think me personally, it's not for me. As I've said that earlier in the stream, it's definitely not for me, but I understand why people like it, and I understand why they do it.
Again, just because it's not for you doesn't mean that it's not for somebody else.
Yeah. Personally speaking, Jon Moxley is just crazy.
Yeah, you talk about a guy who's just like, I mean, here's the thing. You can't take away what Jon Moxley has done for AEW. You can't. You could say this sucks because it does, but put some respect on Jon Moxley's name. He's going out there on a random Wednesday in Idaho or wherever they were. Omaha. Yeah, thank you. In Omaha and jumping on spikes for your entertainment. I mean, you can't hate the guy. You can't. And you can't say he's not dedicated.
But
you can say the storyline sucks because yes, it does. But you can't hate him.
This is what I'll say.
Yeah.
And this is the truth, Billy.
Yeah.
If AEW didn't have Jon Moxley or Chris Jericho, the company would not exist.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree.
I think they were very, very instrumental to being on this TV deal initially and building that relationship with Warner. I think the Elite had a strong presence before, but I think adding Chris Jericho and Jon Moxley did a lot to help AEW, especially when it came to Warner Bros. Discovery. Now that it's been several years, I think they got to find something new for Moxley. And, it's so weird because I really, really, really love the BCC. Like the Blackpool Combat Club.
Combat Club, yeah.
Yeah.
And you remember the Inner Circle? The Inner Circle was great.
I love the Inner Circle.
Me too.
I loved
the name, but I loved it.
I actually didn't even hate the name, but yeah, just really crazy. Yeah, just I get it though. Glow J, I understand.
Yeah.
Shout out to you for those super chats. Thank you so much. Thank you. Richard Cohn coming through with a $5 super chat. Tell Tony Khan to stop writing for his show. He sucks at it. Buddy, I'm not telling Tony Khan anything though. You could. I don't really.
Right. I'm not reaching out to Tony.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. I think as far as Tony goes, I think he right now, like yesterday's episode was good. He had some good stuff in the past. I feel like he's had a lot of great stories in the past. I think there's just it's consistency and execution and understanding that sometimes you have to pivot by listening to the crowd. So like with Harley Cameron, perfect example. You have her lose to Mercedes, that's fine. Okay, that's cool. But are you really going to throw her in a Harley Graham mask, and call her Harley Graham and do all that shit? Like, nah, man, you don't. That's terrible. That's terrible follow-up. That's terrible follow-up.
Horrible.
Yeah. Shout out to Richard Cohn for the super chats. Thank you. I'm going to throw up this chat by Pete Rocks because, again, like I said, I think Pete is a little bit of a troll, but who knows? All of you guys who hated the nails in the back of Mox would have hated the Attitude Era in ECW. Well, if it makes you feel better, Pete, I thought the Attitude Era fucking sucked.
Me too. Wait till you find out. This shit was garbage.
I've been saying, I feel like, go back and watch the Attitude Era, bro. Go back and watch the Attitude.
I was watching some of the shit last night. I had it on my TV before I went to bed. I was like, bro, this is horrible.
Vince was trying so hard to get people to buy pay-per-views that almost every match had interferences or DQs.
Yes, bro. Oh my God. And don't get me wrong, there were your fair share of good matches, but that's in anything, right? But like, holy shit. They did like this really cool moment. I was watching the 2002 Royal Rumble where Maven eliminated The Undertaker.
Yeah.
And then nothing happened after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just Maven eliminated The Undertaker.
Yeah, I 100%. Did you guys hate Mankind versus Taker Hell in a Cell? To be honest with you, I didn't care for it.
I mean, when you talk about moments, you understand that was a very significant moment in what WWE was doing. But if you're going to go based off moments, WWE has had numerous big moments, and that just happens. But when you go back and you actually watch what was happening, no, I wasn't a fan either.
I was a WCW guy, bro. Through and through. I was WCW, and I think it becomes, WCW died, so the sickos always bring that up. But WCW, for me, it's like what is the reason why I'm enjoying Collision right now? Because there's an emphasis on the luchadors.
Right. And
I guess I really should. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say to Pete Rocks, when you're talking about stuff that happened in 1998, 1999. It's 2025, buddy. Things have changed. Sorry. So no, if saying that I would have hated ECW and I would have hated the Attitude Era, I mean, dude, that's such a different time frame now. You don't know that. I mean, we could sit here and compare, go back and forth all day long, but we're in the right now.
It's like the chair shots to the head thing, right? Like back in the day, chair shots in the head, they didn't realize like what it was going to do to people. Now it's 2025. We know a lot about CTE. So should people really be hitting each other face, headshots with the chair? No, I really don't think so. I don't think it's really worth it. I don't think it does. I don't think it adds anything to a match, right? But if you want to talk about extreme matches and stuff, fuck talking about the Attitude Era and talking about ECW. Talk about CZW. Talk about some of these deathmatch companies. Talk about some of the stuff that we see in GCW. There is a lot of crazy shit that you can see in pro wrestling that's far more extreme. Some people like it. That's cool. I'm personally one of those guys, and I've said this before. This is just a me thing. I understand why people like it. I understand why AEW does it. I'm not even mad at AEW for doing it because, again, as I said earlier in the stream, it does make them different from WWE. But that's fine. I don't think there's really a market for that level of viewership, in my opinion. I don't think there's a lot of people who genuinely care about it. I think the sample size is very small. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I'm just kind of indifferent about it. But at the same time, too, what I will say is this. If you are going to do stuff like that, if you are going to do these kinds of things with the barbed wire and the death matches and the freaking baseball bats with this and that and blah blah, and you look at what happened with the spikes yesterday, like you see these kind of things happen, I think it is very easy to realize that, like, okay, cool, it got a little bit of shock factor and some people on social media liked it, and that's fine. But is it really helping your company?
No.
So we could talk about things we like, dislike. We could talk about Jey Uso being a good wrestler, bad wrestler. We could talk about so-and-so being good. Is
it doing anything for you as a company?
Yeah, like the company that you're watching, that you're a fan of, is it doing anything to really help them? To be honest with you, I would say it makes them different, but I don't think that should be the thing that makes them different. It's an alternative thing, but for me, it's just... Like, why
shouldn't be the number one underlining factor that separates.
Why am I enjoying Collision? Because there's an emphasis on luchadors. Well, why do I care about the emphasis on luchadors? Well, it's the same reason why I really enjoyed watching WWE Velocity back in the day, because there was an emphasis on the Cruiserweight division. Why did I like watching WCW back in the day? Because there was an emphasis on the Cruiserweight division. I got exposed to a new level of wrestling, right? So when I watch Collision and I see, Commander and obviously we got Commander and Hologram and Dralistico and Beast Mortos, and we got these luchadors and these guys going out there, that's my kind of thing. It's how I kind of grew up enjoying wrestling, right? Same reason why I love TNA. What was different about TNA than WWE? There was a huge emphasis on the X division. So it's like, to me, that's what I enjoy about wrestling. And then it's really cool if you're going to have characters and cinema and stuff like that with Roman and Jay and Gunther and this and that, whatever. So it's like, if you want to do the blood and the guts and shit like that, that's fine. I'm not saying don't do it. But just understand, I think the sample size for that is very, very low. And I would say if you want to look at Collision's numbers jumping up 200,000, right? It's an indication. There is an indication there that people are liking what they're watching on Collision. Well, what is it that's really becoming the selling point on Collision? That you're just getting really good luchadors on there, and then you have Adam Cole and Daniel Garcia. So there is an increased interest on Collision. But why?
For sure.
You're not doing death matches right now. You're not. There's not a lot of blood and stuff. So maybe take a look at what's indicating the numbers going up and saying, okay, let's replicate this for Dynamite. And at the end of the day, Dynamite used to have over 1 million viewers. Dynamite used to be 900,000 viewers. To constantly lose to NXT, and people are mad about NXT. Because Jada Parker didn't watch wrestling before she became a wrestler. She doesn't love it. Okay, go bitch and cry about something else, because guess what? Jada Parker is on a show where her character is really good. She's improving as a wrestler, but guess what? She's part of a show that's beating where the best wrestle. So it's very clear that, like, people don't genuinely give a shit.
Nope. Never have, never will.
It's crazy. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. We had another super chat, a couple more super chats. Glow J came through with a $2 one. Where's Darby and Jungle Boy storylines? Darby is training to climb Mount Everest, and Jungle Boy has been pulled off TV. I have no idea what's going on with him. Can't pretend to know what's going on with him. And to be honest with you, I feel like Jungle Boy needs to return as Jungle Boy. Personally speaking, I feel like the heel turn, just whatever. I know Tony Khan and AEW thought the whole thing with him and CM Punk was going to lead to something good for them, but as you guys could tell, that did not happen. So, shout out to Glow J for the super chats. Thank you. Kenny Tafoya dropping first ever super chat on the channel. Just dropped $2. Didn't make a comment with it. But shout out to Kenny for the support. And thank you so much for supporting the show. Really do appreciate it.
Sure.
I feel like there was one more. Maybe I'm missing.
There's one down here.
Let me see. I'm just pulling it up. The chat's going really fast. Okay, I think. Let me see. Glow J says, "Love you guys." Shout out to Glow J. We love you too. Thank you.
Love you very much. Appreciate you.
Okay, no, I just thought maybe I missed one more, but apparently that was it.
No, we're caught up. Yeah.
Richard Cohen dropped another one. Wait, tell Tony. Nope.
Yeah, I thought we already read that.
We already addressed that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, or no, we read that one. We read that one.
That's what I thought, right? We did? Or did I miss it?
Yeah. No, we're good.
Okay. Sorry, guys. Sometimes that just happens where...
Did we read off the Where is Darby and Jungle Boy storylines?
Yeah, I just did that.
Yeah, that's what... Yeah, okay.
I don't know. You guys are on fire in the chat. The chat rate is incredibly high right now. So... But yeah, like I said, I really didn't hate AEW last night. I thought it was a relatively good episode. It's just... I'm very excited to see what happens with FTR. And Trevon Womakis says, get Hammerstone and Richard Holiday. Yeah, I would. I would have MJF bring in Richard Holiday and Hammerstone. Bring back the Dynasty, bro. And do it at Dynasty. And let them go after the Hurt Business.
That'd be fire.
I'd be down for it. Yeah. Fun stuff, dude. Fun stuff. Honestly, man, I think that's it. We're over an hour and a half. Not an hour and a half, but hour and 15 minutes, roughly. And
Can I just shout some people? I need to shout out David Decker, Nathaniel Crenshaw, and Darth Bane for hanging out in my chat over on my channel. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, shout out to everybody, man.
I appreciate everybody here.
Shout out to all of you guys. Seriously, the watch times on these streams are incredibly awesome, and they're fun to do, man. I really enjoy doing these live streams, and I'm super excited. I'm super excited. We're going into WrestleMania weekend, and we got AEW Dynasty, and there's just so much stuff popping off, and a lot of good things coming the way of professional wrestling. So obviously, we stay excited talking about it, and we will talk about it. Shout out to David. Shout out to Chester. Shout out to Trey. Shout out to Sharon. Shout out to Kenny. Shout out to everybody. Brian McCaddy's in the chat. He says, has anyone seen the Facebook shit with the Moxley spot last night? It's comical at best.
I'll go on Facebook.
I don't use Facebook like that, man. I don't use Facebook at all sometimes. I honestly just for like local updates.
Yeah, that's what all mine is I'll go on there for local stuff. Other than that, I don't go on there.
Yeah, shout out to Phil as well. Phil, we'll have you back next week. Obviously, this week was I wasn't live, but and we gotta play some.
Be back.
We gotta play some WWE 2K25. So maybe we'll launch a 2K25 stream today. We'll see. A lot of stuff to get through. Obviously, it's a big weekend ahead, and we will be back live tomorrow, guys.
Yep.
So we'll be back live tomorrow at 12 p.m. Shout out to everybody who stopped by. Shout out to everybody supporting. Shout out to everybody for the super chats. Shout out to Mike holding it down as a mod. And yeah, man, we'll be back tomorrow. Billy, let them know where they can follow you.
Go ahead and follow me everywhere. It's Billy TKO. Just go subscribe to my YouTube, and on Twitter, it's Billy D TKO. There's a D in there. Other than that, that's all it is.
Nice. Sweet, man. Well, make sure you guys go hit up Billy's channel, watch his content and all that good stuff, and we'll be back tomorrow. Yep. And don't forget, join us on Discord too, man. You know?
Oh, look at that.
With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Peace.